I love horror games. It has been my favorite genre so far. This feeling of overcoming fear or even embracing it. The next step that you take while you're facing a dark corridor that seems endless. Maybe a jump scare is waiting around the corner, or maybe not. Maybe it's just this unease feeling of the possibility of someone watching you from afar or really close. A few of those games really play with horror concept at its fullest. Doesn't mean that these games are bad, no, but horror can have many faces. Different people get scared by different things. What are you really afraid of? And I'm not talking about just the monsters. When a game really succeeds at exploring the many layers that horror can offer, you start to realize how close to reality a nightmare can be. It was a normal day at work. I had this video playing on my second monitor just as a background noise while I was all focused on my tasks. I love putting on my headphones and hearing someone chat away while I'm doing something that is more mechanical, like painting or something that doesn't need that much attention. The video that was playing was a Sphere Hunter video. At one point, she mentioned this survival horror game called SIGNALIS, and I was like, that game actually seems really interesting. So I quickly check out on Steam, and at first, I wasn't sold on the anime character stuff, but the snippets that showed got me curious enough to wishlist it. Later, I keep hearing other YouTubers raving about Signalis, calling it a return to survival horror, and the right way to do modern survival horror. Even though I wasn't sure about the anime art style, these recommendations were too many to not consider. So I took the plunge and I bought the game. It was one beautiful Friday night when I got back home after a long day at work. I put up Signalis, and despite being that tired, I immediately got sucked into this mesmerizing Lovecraftian experience. A heartfelt love letter from these two German developers to a genre cherished by countless players. It quenched the thirst of hardcore fans craving a return to classical 90s survival horror experience. The game's haunting beauty and gripping storytelling left a lasting impression. Signalis has a strong opener, and I'm not talking about the start of the game just yet, but talking about the presentation itself. Graphics are something that is always evolving to the point of sometimes not standing the test of time, but art direction always endures, and Signalis is the perfect example. This game is dripping art direction in every corner. Even in the logos from the companies, it all blends well in a unique aesthetic. Going to the menu is great. It's super simple, but has this aesthetic of this late 90s idea of a sci-fi movie with the sound and visuals giving you this impression of you playing on a CRT television. It's fantastic and a great homage to the classic survival horror days. The immersion goes so far to the point of showing an initializer of your character, like you are already playing as an Elster unit, which I'm going to explain more in just a moment. But here you already can grasp how the game feels just by tweaking your settings, while you hear this muffled background noise, while this deep sound that feels like you are inside of a spaceship. And one really nice touch is that you can activate an actual CRT mode, and for me, you can already feel the care that is put into this project just by tweaking the settings. And after I was already sold and totally immersed into this game without even knowing what was about to play, the menu showed up. Again, is not just a menu with a new game, settings. No, it has style. They are taking all the key visuals that they have to make everything connect. Everything has a reason for being there. This eye is not just a cool aesthetic, it's our character looking straight at us. You are already sucked into the game. You just feel a connection right from the start, and after a message saying, "Wake up," the game starts. It seems that our character was hibernating this whole time, and we are the responsible for waking her up. Now, another close-up showing more of her face, and finally, after getting out of this cryo chamber, we are finally able to play. All those steps were crucial for we, as the player, to get immersed. And immersion is a key factor in horror games. Despite playing a quote-unquote PS1 graphical game, the psychological aspect of horror, when well-designed, induces the player to get into alert mode as you play through the game. Take for example Silent Hill from the PlayStation 1, a classic horror game that takes their limitations at the time and uses them to create this atmosphere with a foggy town that you don't know where you're going or if you're going to stumble into a monster or something. Alongside the cinematic camera, which helps a lot more in those scenarios because the game is taking control of the camera, not the player. The game is deciding what and how you are going to see things, making you even more alert because at any moment this camera shift can throw you off. And this is why it's harder to make horror games in third person, because you give too much control of the situation and you have to predict what the player will do so you can lead them into the horror set piece. But here, the classic cinematic camera is back. If you are a hardcore fan of classic survival horror games, you are here for the treat. And to be honest, there are many videos talking about this specific topic, especially saying that this game almost feels like a good Silent Hill game, which I totally agree, especially with all the references and basically rip-offs that has from Silent Hill games. And I know the ripoff sounds like a bad thing, but here in Signalis is a compliment. They took what worked from the genre and perfected, giving quality of life changes with a brilliant and compelling story on top, with a terrific art style that is really unique. All those references don't feel like a copy and paste, but rather they feel like they belong into the game from how well they blend together. Besides all those amazing details that I already mentioned about the game, one thing that stands out the most for me personally is how Signalis uses horror. And this is something that I talked about it briefly in my Resident Evil 2 video on how I love when games show the other variants of horror. For instance, imagine being afraid of water. A game could use different ways to introduce water elements and evoke fear. That may sound straightforward, but let's go a step further. What if your fear is being alone? Like the feeling when your parents go out and you're scared of staying all by yourself. That sounds more complex to play with in the game. Design a scare, a set piece that invokes this feeling of you being alone. And here's where Signalis shine for me. Now, let me revisit the question I asked at the beginning of the video. What are you really afraid of? I'm not here to explain the story of the game. There are many videos that do it so perfectly already, but I'm just here intrigued by how this love story got me thinking after weeks, how it resurfaced my trauma of relationships, how cryptic this game feels and still gets you going despite not understanding the whole thing. I just wanted to talk about it. About this confusion, about how you don't need to understand the whole thing to just appreciate this game. After waking up from cryosleep inside a vessel that apparently crashed into an unknown planet, Elster has no information or context of what happened here. It is all up to the player to gather information, learn the controls, and understand how the game works. You don't know just yet who Elster is, why she's here, or why this spaceship just crashed, setting already some simple but yet intriguing questions to interest player curiosity. After exploring the vessel, you'll find a couple items and files that tells that Elster is looking for someone that appears to be missing. Elster exits the ship and steps into this fierce blizzard that almost blinds her vision as she ventures further into the vast, almost empty place. She stumbles across some rectangular monoliths that were surrounding an arch. After crossing through the arch, she discovers an immense deep hole in the ground with a conveniently placed staircase on the side, leading her to the bottom. Once she reaches the foundation, she finds a hole that she can crawl through it. Doing so, Elster reaches a room that is really cryptic, containing many items that don't make sense just yet. One of them calls Elster's attention the most. It is a book called The King in Yellow from Robert W. Chambers. And upon picking it up, a radio turns on and all of a sudden, what is happening here? Numbers start to show on the screen alongside a woman's voice in the background as a quote from H.P. Lovecraft book, The Festival, appears. And interestingly enough, Lovecraft also liked to include references from the book The King in Yellow. The brilliancy of this intro is immeasurable. In the first couple minutes, the game introduces you right in the menu. Until now, the tone, the art direction, the convoluted story, and its mystery that you barely have anything to piece out together, but is enough to keep the immersion going. After this confusing and yet profound introduction, we drastically change the scenario as we are now standing in the front of a mirror in this bathroom, as Elster says, "I came all the way here to find her." A clear and beautiful reference to the beginning of Silent Hill 2, but where are we? How did we come all the way from that confined room to here? Where's exactly here? Don't know if this is a dream, a flashback, or if we actually skipped ahead of time. We only know that we need to find this woman. Going forward and exploring a bit of the facility, we came across some anomalies that we have the option to either kill or just dodge them so we can save some resources. And not long after, we found someone in the ground, bruises all over her body, bleeding, but Elster doesn't seem to care that much. She just wants to know if this person knows about the woman she's looking for, which she replies saying that all Gestalt workers probably are deep down the mines. Gestalt workers? So we now know at least a bit more about this woman. As we continue our investigation, we came across a room that resembled a classroom. Inside we found Isa, a woman with bruises all over her body. She appeared scared yet lost. Strangely enough, Elster didn't react to her presence either. Even more peculiar is that Isa seemed to be aware of what we are looking for and how we felt about the situation, as if she knew exactly what was going on. As I started to piece things together, she mentioned that there's something she needs to do, and then she left the room, leaving us with even more questions. Exploring those eerie hallways of this massive factory, solving some of the best puzzles that I ever encountered in gaming, we came across this butterfly box that needed a key to open. The key is split in two, so we need to navigate through the facility, crawling with those monsters to find them. After you finally recover both parts and combining them into a key, opening the butterfly box, you will find a hexagonal artifact called Plate of Eternity. And after picking it up, you are here is where Ariane lived with her mom, far away from everyone. She had a lot of freedom compared to others from the society. With time, she developed interest in subjects that are not so welcome to the society, more like a taboo. Her aunt Camilla insisted to her mother that it was the best choice for Ariane to attend school in the colony so she can have a normal education. Wait, that was weird. Was that a dream? Wait, how did I still have the radio that I picked it up? Okay, let's just move on. Couple more hours in, and after some puzzles and dozens of files later, we still have no clue about what is happening here. But I feel that after making this elevator work, we might finally be able to go to the mines soon enough. But before that, our first boss. An easy to understand fight with gray mechanics. You have to run away and shoot to stagger this juggernaut until it falls into his knees, so you can shot right inside his helmet. Repeat this process a couple times and you are rewarded with a we encounter Adler. He seemed to work in this facility and also have knowledge about the guest out workers. So Alistair rapidly asked him if he saw the woman at the picture, the one that we are trying to find since in the beginning. At first he seemed willing to help us to find her, but it seems that Adler had some other plans for us. We woke up inside the classroom, but this time as Isa, the woman that we found early. Wait, is this school that Ariane is at? Wait, who is Ariane? And just after exploring a bit, we found Ariane getting bullied and beat up pretty bad. Why are they doing this to her? We wake with a big surprise. Many other Elster units' bodies pile up inside the elevator shaft. Are they the same person as I? Or just other units that have nothing to do with me? I think we are starting to get somewhere despite the confusion. Let's keep going. Dropping down this hole in another flashback? Adler seems to be trying to kill Isa as well. I think she needs help. We need to find her before it's too late. Going inside this room, we found Falk, which is a big mystery in the game. There are forums and videos talking about many theories regarding her, but for now, let's just state that she's some sort of a superior replica. And what is a replica? The replicas are biomechanical humanoids created to assist orbital missions or recon missions. There are more layers rather than just that, but I will explain a bit later. So I finally found the elevator to the mines, and as we went down, we saw another flashback of Isa stabbing Adler's right into his eye, leading to him falling off the spit. Moments later, we are back as we finally reach the mines. Exploring further and going even deeper down, we stumble upon the same pit that Adler felt. Jump the hole? After waking up from some sort of a dream, we are in nowhere. Another terrific reference from Silent Hill, even having the same name, nowhere. Here, things are off. You have no map, so you have to memorize all the rooms that you have to go. The sense of direction is also off. When you enter a door leading to the left, you end up to the right. Nothing makes sense in nowhere. It feels that Elster is going insane. Or maybe we are. Everything resembles Silent Hill. The dark rooms with bloody metal walls and floors, the industrial sounds, and the creepy monsters with exaggerated anatomies that differ greatly from humans, but still, in a weird way, bear some resemblance. Even those souls with flesh are presented here to the point of making you feel Oh, it's Isa! We quickly wake up and start to fight this monster as we distract him so Isa can load her rifle for the final blow. Going around those pillars and taking just a couple shots to stagger the monster, she finally did it. A great well-placed shot, but sadly, the recoil was so powerful that she fainted after the deadly shot. We take Isa to a room so she can rest for a bit while we explore. And after a bit of exploration, we also find some sort of a medicine that helps her to get up just so she can continue her journey. In nowhere, we have the store where we can use the artifact that we found early as a key. But we also need to find other artifacts with the same hexagonal shape. Doing so, we are able to open this door that leads us to... wait. Is this the same hole that we found while in that blizzard at the start of the game? Environment where you can clearly see other Elster's unit dead, scattered around this vast red desert. Finally found our Gestalt, the woman that we've been looking for, and we are finally here to keep our promise. imposter is climbing the Penrose, the ship that we woke up in the beginning of the game. And this was SIGNALIS. I really loved to play this game. It was confusing, but now that we finally finished, we could understand that it was a sad love story with a survival horror elements that blend into this interesting and intriguing game. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you all have an amazing day. And don't forget, I love horror games. It has been my favorite genre so far. This feeling of overcoming fear or even embracing it. The next step that you take while you're facing a dark corridor that seems endless. Maybe a jump scare is waiting around the corner, or maybe not. Maybe it's just this unease feeling of the possibility of someone watching you from afar or really close. A few of those games really play with horror concept at its fullest. Doesn't mean that these games are bad, no, but horror can have many faces. Different people get scared by different things. What are you really afraid of? And I'm not talking about just the monsters. When a game really succeeds at exploring the many layers that horror can offer, you start to realize how close to reality a nightmare can be. It was a normal day at work. I had this video playing on my second monitor just as a background noise while I was all focused on my tasks. I love putting on my headphones and hearing someone chat away while I'm doing something that is more mechanical, like painting or something that doesn't need that much attention. The video that was playing was a Max Darrett video, and at one point he mentioned this survival horror game called SIGNALIS. And I was like, that game actually seems really interesting. So I quickly checked out on Steam, and at first I wasn't sold on the anime character stuff, but the snippets that showed got me curious enough to wishlist it. SIGNALIS has a strong opener. You have this menu with this brilliant sound in the background that keeps looping endless, that makes you stay there for a while, appreciating this aesthetic. This feeling immediately sucks you into this game. You wanna know what is waiting for you. After pressing any key, we are greeted by this blue eye that seems so empty, lifeless. A tear of blood dripping on the side, giving an uneasy sensation of a tragic story, already invoking players' curiosity. Again, is not just a menu with a new game, settings. No, it has style. They are taking all the key visuals that they have to make everything connect. Everything has a reason for being there. This eye is not just a cool aesthetic, it's our character looking straight at us. You are already sucked into the game. You just feel a connection right from the start, and after a message saying, "Wake up," the game starts. It seems that our character was hibernating this whole time, and we are the responsible for waking her up. Now, another close-up showing more of her face, and finally, after getting out of this cryo chamber, we are finally able to play. After waking up from the cryosleep inside the Penrose, which was a vessel that is used for the Penrose program, where a Gestalt alongside a replica of an Elster unit are sent in a mission to find other habitable planets so society can live in. We as the Elster unit have the task of helping the maintenance of the ship, so we need to check some rooms and see if everything is in order before we talk to our Gestalt, Ariane. After remembering our promise that we made to Ariane, we woke up. Elster doesn't want to die. Again, she can fail once again. She needs to fulfill her promise to Ariane. So after gathering the rest of her strength for one final push, she climbed the Penrose so she could once again enter the vessel that this time was completely destroyed and also corrupted by the flesh like in nowhere. Going inside the cryo chamber, Elster took parts of herself, another Elster unit that died in another cycle. And after putting herself back together, she regains her strength to finally finish her quest. Exploring a bit of the destroyed vessel, we found a hole made with flash. Jumping down led me to another dream sequence, the beach one. But this time there was a boat holding a lamp with a strong red glowing light. Upon entering, a light dropped far from the sky, making We are back here once again, but this time the bathroom is all corrupted. But not only that, the entire facility is corrupted. Despite being the same layout, now most of the paths that we took before are blocked by this flashy tumor. This time it was easier to go through the section because it was the same. Even the puzzles have the same combinations. But after entering this door, we have our first major difference. A flashback of Adler's alongside Fogg. His appearance changed. He's now corrupted, covered in flesh, his true form. And now it seems that we are not in a cycle anymore. We are in a different room, a different place. And now we need to figure out how we are going to get out of here. Or how we're going to find Ariane. Because now I have no clue on where to go and where I'm going. But I still want to know, I still want to push to understand why. The plot is intriguing, the mystery surrounding it makes you urging for answers, but the game just keeps giving you more and more questions. This is the final section of the game, and it took me some time and a couple backtracking to finally figure out some of those puzzles. The main focus here is to find 6 tarot cards, each one representing a planet of the world of SIGNALIS. So we need to find them all so we can finally find a solution to the puzzle in the main hall. Finding those cards is not an easy task, but the puzzles are really rewarding. The moment that you finally uncover the answers, you always get the feeling of dopamine and relief, opening a new section to explore and repeat the cycle once more. After getting 5 of the 6 cards, now there's only 1 left. And this card was here, in some sort of a storage. But before I was finally able to pick it up, the last piece of the puzzle, I found Isa for one last time. Since the beginning of the game, Isa has been on a quest to find her sister. Although she seems to know a lot more about what is happening here, there are still some things she doesn't know. Upon arriving, she discovered the heartbreaking truth that her sister, Erica, was already dead. The weight of this loss was too much for Isa to bear, and she began to cry. Overwhelmed by the pain and grief, she collapsed to her knees and passed away right before our eyes. And after lamenting her death for a bit, I picked up the last tarot card. Death. Alongside the tarot card, there were 2 picture frames. In one picture, we had Erica, and in the other one, we had Isa. The twist is that Isa was always dead since the beginning. She died long time ago serving in the military alongside her sister. I went back to the hall to finally solve the final puzzle. Doing so, a hole in the wall will open up so we can once again crawl inside, leading us to the same room from the start of the game. We picked up the King in Yellow again, but this time a door unlocked right next to us. This is Ariane's room. Here we explore and find resources alongside some files. And after entering this door, a message asking if you want to live here forever. If we want to leave the dream world once and for all. But before we finally go back to Ariane, there is still something that we need to do. We need to kill Fog. She sadly also got corrupted by the sickness, the responsible of all of this corruption. That's why everything is constantly changing, constantly getting destroyed, getting corrupted. As we enter Fog's room, she said to us that she will never be with Ariane ever again, and then proceeds to attack Elster in an attempt to become whole again. This fight is really tense. There are 6 phases, each one you need to stagger Fog shooting at her and finishing her off, craving a spear into her head. Repeat this 6 times, and each one she teleports you to a different location, as she also summons anomalies to deal with you. It's an intense fight where you still feel helpless despite having an array of weapons. And after a really rough boss fight section, Elster came up victorious, finally overcoming Fog. As she said, "Now is the time to fulfill our promise." But before we do, we stumble upon Adler's once again. This time he's fully corrupted, like Fog. He's trying to stop us from reaching Ariane. For some reason, he doesn't want that. It's as if he believes Elster is doing something wrong, and there's something we are not understanding. However, Elster is determined, and Adler quickly realized that. He stabs us as a last-ditch effort to stop us once and for all, but Elster's reflexes are too sharp. She shoots Adler with no remorse and continues as she passes through the arc once again. As Elster walked through the vast red desert, bleeding, wounded at the verge of death, we once again climbed the Penrose, and after getting inside, we went to the cryo chamber for one last time. There she was, Ariane, our love. Elster slowly approaches the pod as Ariane is hibernating. A message saying "wake up" appears once more as Elster reaches for Ariane to give her a kiss on her forehead, waking her up as she said, but Ariane, she didn't remember Elster or anything. She completely lost her memory. Elster responds, "It's okay," as she lays down right beside Ariane and uses her last breath to state as a last wish that she just wanted to stay by her side just a little longer. Elster's life slowly fades as she lies right next to her loved one after having failed to complete her promise, completing the cycle once again so another Elster unit can take her parts as she going to fulfill Ariane's promise one more time. Ariane was a kid that had her own interests, always isolated from anyone, always by herself, living with her mom in a radio station away from everyone. Until one day after her Aunt Camilla convinced her mom to make Ariane attend the military school so she could have an education and be accepted by society. However, as we could see, she didn't fit in. She was considered weird by her peers, and they bullied her every day. Consequently, she felt even more like an outcast. But she had a friendship with the twins, Isolde Itu, but we know them as Isa and Erica, until one day they went to the military service, leaving Ariane once again all by herself. After lots of tragedies in her life and after getting fed up with all the military service that she also attended, she just wanted to get away from all of that to a place where she could just be herself, where she could paint, read comics of cosmic horror novels like her Lovecraft books, embracing who she really is. So that's why she decided to enter the Penrose program, so she could isolate herself from everyone, a place where she could do whatever she wanted, no judgment whatsoever. When she finally went aboard of the Penrose 512, and after finally said goodbye to everyone, she was finally happy. She didn't bother to read all the manuals about the maintenance of the vessel or anything like that. She just wanted to do her things, paint, dance, watch all of her movies as Elster took care of all the technical things, ensuring the safety of the Penrose. At first, Ariane didn't want any company going to the Penrose, but after learning that the Elster unit is a replica that works better isolated, she accepted and saw that it was a great opportunity for her to have even more time for her own stuff. But the Penrose program was some sort of a one-way ticket experience. She would not ever be coming home if the operation fails, but she already knew the risks from the start. Eventually, she started to be bothered by how things at the ship started to feel monotonous, as every day was the same and they were not going to change. So with time, she decided to approach Elster, starting with just small talk, as she was desperately in need of something else. Loneliness was also hurting her. With time, Ariane was impressed about Elster's accent. It got her attention because it was the same accent of her friends, Issa and Erica. And as the days passed, Ariane started to make the ship more comfortable for Elster, changing some things around to make it feel more like home. Elster, on the other side, started to help Ariane with her tasks like painting, enjoying her hobbies together like watching movies, dance. They were in love and happy being alongside each other. What started as a way to run away from everyone and everything, it blossomed into a beautiful relationship. But there is no happy ending that lasts forever. As the days were passing and getting close to the 3000 cycle, which means 3000 days of Penrose operation, Ariane started to feel sick, started to lose focus, as she mentions that she felt that she had a fog in her head, leading into more physical sickness, sore muscles, pain, feeling tired, hair loss. She was getting really sick as the days went by. Something is going on. To make matters worse, their resources and supplies were running dangerously low. Nevertheless, they pressed on, determined to reach the 3000 cycle, a significant milestone that marked the beginning of the final step into the Penrose program. This program represents a glimmer of hope, a way to return home and embrace a peaceful life alongside her love, Elster. Finally, the long-awaited 3000 cycle arrived, bringing with it new orders.
Congratulations, comrade! You survived 3000 cycles, reaching the final phase of the Penrose program. With the end of the operational lifetime of your replica unit approaching, it is time to prepare for the final phase of your mission. If you not have found a suitable world for landing by this point, accept that you will not. Find solace in the thought that others might be successful where you failed. As you are probably aware, your ship's spare parts and rations will soon be depleted. Life support systems and reactor shielding will soon begin to fail, and radiation may begin to leak from the cooling system. We recommend you to not attempt prolong your suffering by reusing old filters or rationing supplies. Instead, make peace with your fate. We suggest that you ask your replica, while it's still functional, to spare you a slow and agonizing death, or that you take permanent rest on the cryogenic pod. Remember, you will die having served your nation by partaking in a glorious demonstration of our power.
With the shocking news, they realized that Ariane's sickness was coming from the vessel. More specifically, the reactor of the ship started to collapse as it was leaking radioactive coolant that was causing cancer to Ariane. Despite the hopelessness of the situation, they decided to keep going, to the point of enduring another 2000 more days. They didn't want to embrace the reality of death, a scary thought that no one ever expects. Even with their strength, time had a bigger weight on their shoulders, and Ariane's sickness started to demolish her even more from the inside. She became way weaker, to the point of finally deciding to end this. She didn't want to suffer anymore. She couldn't take it. So she made a promise to Elster. Promise to finally end her suffering, pulling her to rest, freeing her out of this suffering. Elster units were programmed to following orders without hesitation, but this time was different. Elster bonded so deeply with Ariane that she couldn't follow what she was programmed to do. She couldn't take the burden of taking the life of her loved one. It was so hard for her, and even though she tried, she kept delaying the inevitable until she ran out of time and died from the radiation that was emanating from the reactor, leaving Ariane all alone once again. This is where Ariane decided to use the cryopod to enter in the cycle of sleep and awakeness. As she didn't have the strength to end her own life, she decided to just let time do his thing. But this cycle on the cryopod was longer than expected, maybe too long. She was just there, laying down every day, existing as the days went by, waiting for her time to pass. But there must be a way to break the cycle. Elster cannot give up just now. I need to do it all over again. I must find a way to fulfill her promise. No matter how many times I failed, I need to get it right this time. We are finally here. This time I will succeed. No, Elster couldn't do it. Again. Let's do it again, and again, and again, and again. And again, and again, and again, and again. No matter how many times Elster fails, she's always trying. But imagine if it didn't matter in the end. Imagine if the outcome would always end up in suffering. Signalis is about this endless cycle that after beating the game a couple times, I realized that there is no real conclusion. It feels like those cycles cannot be broken. Maybe in the secret ending where they appear dancing at the end, but was that even real? Or was just another dream sequence? We will never know for sure. This game is a piece of art with a dedicated community that until this day is creating amazing theories about the game's lore. Here in this video, I tried my best to talk about my personal experience and what I came to understand about the game and how this tragic love story caught my attention. I think love can also be a part of horror, the psychological aspect of loving someone to the point of sacrifice, going as far for that person even if you don't know the outcome. This can be beautiful or totally the opposite. I myself see love, relationships in general, as a huge trauma. So SIGNALIS' story actually got into me. It made me feel this horrible feeling after every single playthrough, a testament of how well the horror succeeded in my case. This game terrifies me in a deeper level, and I appreciate all the care and all the commitment of the team. For me, SIGNALIS is a fantastic, classic survival horror experience, having the Silent Hill type of story that needs countless playthroughs to uncover all the information and put the puzzle pieces together. The beauty of it all is that you don't need to fully understand this game to fully appreciate it. However, if you do decide to try to learn more about it, you will be exploring tons of theories, investigating dozens of files, and watching hours of videos. This game has so many interpretations that you cannot even imagine. I myself just talked about a couple things that caught my attention, trying to make as enigmatic as possible as a way to immerse you guys in the style of the story that this game presented to us. Going down this rabbit hole, we will lead you to an endless cycle, which, are you willing to go down that deep? Hello guys, I hope you all enjoyed this video. This one was a tough one to make. SIGNALIS is a game that you should experience by yourself, especially if you are a horror fan. Also, I want to thank all of you for watching the whole thing. If you like my work, I would appreciate if you leave some feedback in the comments or like in the video. It helps the algorithm to deliver my video to other people so I can share my passion about gaming. Well, I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Stay awesome, stay hydrated, and don't forget,